Brittney Carbone is here, ladies and gentlemen. I want to talk about your story.
Okay.
Because she lost a lot of weight, like 40 or 50 pounds, and kept it off and looks amazing.
Or 70.
70? You lost 70?
65 probably. 65
Really?
At this point. Yeah.
Oh, I was only saying 40 or 50.
No.
70?
Yeah.
Okay, 70
That's a
pounds,
lot.
kept it off,
Yeah.
and I think you look great.
Get that
and
right.
Healthy.
Yeah. Healthy.
Yeah, I do.
Thanks.
And you've got great habits. But what I've always liked that we've talked about is kind of the deeper work beneath the surface.
Yep.
Emotions, what's going on with you, stuff like that. I've learned a lot from you.
Aww.
And I think they can too. So that's why you're on the show.
Great.
I'm going to ask you a couple questions, okay? Let's give them something right from the beginning. When I want a couple of habits that you do on a daily basis, what comes to mind, because I didn't prep you for this, things you do every day that makes you happy and feel good.
So, A, meditating, even just 5 minutes. I have a guided meditation that I use every morning. B, I pray. So it's like a spiritual connection. I don't really believe in like a specific God, but just to the universe. And then C, I write my food down. And I know that sounds weird, but writing my food down makes me calm.
Meditating, praying, and writing your food down, kind like the first and then the third.
I know. The third doesn't really match, but that's the truth.
Okay, when you meditate, what does that mean?
It just means that I shut off everything. My phone I use for the actual meditation, but
Do you use an app or just something you've recorded?
No, it's on YouTube. It's like a heart healing meditation.
Okay.
And it's just about like bringing positivity and light to the world.
Okay,
So
cool.
I like that one.
And it's like 5 or 10 minutes or
It's
something?
5 minutes. I'm not like a spiritual mountaintop, sit there for an hour type of person. I'm like I need to get things done, but I want to pause for a second, so I set my intentions for the day type of girl.
Oh, set my intention is huge.
Yeah, it's huge.
I like meditating. I think that makes a big difference, even
Yeah.
a few minutes. What do you pray? If I can ask, I'm curious. What do you pray for?
I pray for the willingness to continue on my path with food, because for me that's a big deal.
Yeah.
And then I also just pray to come into every situation with love and come from a place of love.
Those are good prayers. Kind of warms the heart.
A little bit. Yeah. It helps me come into things with like love and tolerance versus coming into situations from you can choose how you approach things. So
From darkness and anger.
yes, and I'm very capable of that.
I can feel it.
Rawr.
Okay, so that was 2 things that make you happy on a daily basis. And you and I have talked about the relationship between not just food and health, but self-love and happiness. So I kind of wanted to start with something more along those lines than just like, what are you eating? What's your diet? Tell me about your carbs and your veggies.
Carbs, all the macros, which I do count, but yeah.
Okay, so now give them 2 things that you do every day that's like, you would say, healthy habits around eating, besides writing all your food down.
Well, I have to just stress again that writing your food down.
Okay, tell me about that, because I didn't let you talk about that.
Yeah, okay, so because it is such a huge thing, for me at least. So writing my food down as like a ritual and knowing what I'm putting into my body, because I can be delusional as to how much or how little I'm putting in my body. So sometimes, especially if you're somebody who struggles with emotional eating, sometimes when you are eating, you could be really hungry and it can feel like real hunger, but it might not be. It might be emotional hunger. For me, by seeing it, I can know if I'm quote unquote supposed to be hungry.
So when you write it down, are you writing it down throughout the day or at the end of the day? Because you've told me this before, and I thought you did it at the end of the day.
No. I write it out throughout the day, if not.
What do you write it into? A notebook?
It depends on like how specifically I'm tracking.
Like write it on your hand?
I sometimes write it on the back
day?
of my hand and like hopefully sleep on it and see it in the mirror in the morning on my face. So right now I'm using Lose It. It's just an app.
So when you keep track of it like this, how does that help you?
What it does, it keeps me from mindlessly eating. So I have kind of, I don't want to say a rule, but kind of a rule or suggestion that I give myself.
Okay.
Which is before I eat it, write it down or put it in my Lose It app. And
Before you eat it, put it in.
Before I eat it.
Okay.
Because then I have to go, is that worth it? Like, is that what I want right now? And then just even that action gives me a pause, which that pause time helps me step away from emotional eating, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes me think about moment. Stephen Covey, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He always said between stimulus and response is your freedom of choice.
Right.
And so like it's the same thing that your process, because you put it into this thing, that's like where sometimes it gives you the chance to say, okay, maybe this is what I want to eat. This doesn't fit into what I'm trying to do. That's an interesting process.
Yeah. And
so do you find, you've been like
helpful.
doing this for a while. Do you find like even now, you'll be like about to write something in and you'll be like, no, I can't do this.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Because it doesn't feel good to like put 2 bags of Skittles. Do you know what I mean?
2 bags.
Or like whatever it is.
2 bags.
Yeah, I can throw down. And, you know, or like if I'm just thinking about it, I'm like, is this something I really want to do? It also helps me pause and ask myself, is that a self-loving action? Like, does this help me? You know, well, how am I going to feel? It helps me play the food through. How is this going to make me feel after? That's a big deal for me.
There's so many things I want to talk about right now. It's hard to stay away from that self-love thing because I think everybody, regardless of how fat or skinny or thin or whatever you are, like self-love is a real thing for everybody.
Yeah.
So tell us your story.
Okay.
You were an athlete in high school.
I want to start from when I was a little kid.
Okay.
So I was a little kid, super active, ran around, played sports, skinny as a string bean. We were like the junk food junkies. Our house was the house. You know, it was like, this is the house you want to go get junk food. And, you know, we were, you know.
My daughter totally knows where those houses are.
Yes. My parents, shopped at Costco. We had everything you could want. And everyone came to our house for the goods. And, but we were kids, you know, and at that time, I think that especially parents weren't as aware about nutrition, and it wasn't as big of a thing. It was the era of marketing saying your kids need to have breakfast cereal, i.e., not Cheerios, but like Lucky Charms, and they would shove all these like crazy sugar-filled foods, and
that's how I grew up too.
Yeah, I mean it's the era of sugar, really, but that's a whole other.
A lot of sugar and a lot of processed carbs and a lot of packaged foods and frozen vegetables and
craziness. And so growing up, that's just how I grew up, but I was tiny. Like I was just like a little string bean, so it wasn't a big deal. And people associate your outward appearance to how you are physically, nutrition-wise, and that's just not reality, you know? They're not gonna put me on or when I was that young, put me on a diet because I'm, 2 pounds. And
tip of the iceberg.
Yes, and eating was celebrated. I had a healthy appetite and I could eat a pound of spaghetti, and it was like, how is this girl?
Clean plate club.
Clean plate club. Oh yeah, and it was like a badge of honor. And then I got into high school.
It's interesting just to pause for a minute because I think we all grew up, with these messages, things we were taught around food: be a good boy, good girl, clean your plate.
Totally.
For example. Or, a lot of times food is love between families and and all that stuff.
Come on, just eat a little
enjoyment more. And all this and those intentions aren't bad.
No.
Love is a good thing. Maybe there's healthier ways to do it. And there's consequences to it sometimes. Okay, continue.
So I went to high school, and that was probably the first time I started developing a little earlier than other girls, and that immediately made me uncomfortable because I was no longer I was just awkward, and I was no longer super skinny like all the other girls. They were little girl skinny, and I was becoming like this woman,
with some curves,
right?
With some normal natural curves.
Totally, but at that time I was developing faster, so it was like, why am I so big, and that started my complex or uncomfortability with.
Oh, that's where that started. Interesting.
I was probably
so the association is not just with I'm different, I'm bigger, and you were uncomfortable with it. This was not good, and so that was like acceptance and wow. Okay.
It was weird, and so that's when I first started doing the whole dieting thing, or tried to.
Was this like for boys or just because peer group or what?
I honestly don't know. I remember there was a girl that it was in high school and she was anorexic and I wanted to be like her. I was like, this girl has it going on. I don't know.
You didn't know she was anorexic. She was just skinny.
She was
and
super
you're like,
skinny.
Ooh, that looks good.
Yeah, I'm like, she looks pretty. So I literally went online to LiveJournal and there were support groups to become anorexic. So I was in these support groups and they would do these crazy diets where you like on Monday you eat 200 calories and then on Tuesday you eat 600 and then the next day you eat 100. Yeah, it was like super sick.
I don't know what 200 calories in a day looks like.
It's like an apple and maybe like
and 3 carrots.
A tablespoon of peanut butter or something.
So you just starve?
You would just starve yourself, yeah.
Wow.
And I wanted so badly to like be like these girls on this LiveJournal thing.
Because they were beautiful.
Right.
Is that what the drive was?
Yeah. And I think it was a sense of control. I had some things going on in my life that were a little crazy for me, or I felt uncomfortable with, that were happening. And I think that was my sense of control.
Okay, so that was high school.
Yep. And
then what happened?
I go to college. I went to a junior college first, and I played soccer and started really drinking more. I had a boyfriend that was, we drank a lot together and played soccer, but still, it remained pretty normal size. Then I transferred to UCLA and was there, and, I had a serious drinking issue, and I would try not to eat, and then I would drink at night, and then I'd eat everything, because finally I'd be drunk and be able to let my guard down. And so I was just struggling with like trying to find a balance. And
so you would kind of starve yourself during the day, get drunk, and binge.
Yeah. And I was on Weight Watchers, and I would be at the bar like writing my points in for each shot. I know. I would be like, I literally, and if I didn't, I had a marker. I would carry a Sharpie with me and I would mark my drinks on my arm so I could remember.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah, and then I would...
I'm sorry to laugh at you, but that does sound absurd.
I've been sober for 7.5 years, so I think we're okay. Now I'm good.
I mean, I don't... I hesitate to sound so critical, but you were sick.
Oh, yeah.
You were sick.
Yeah, and on the outside, everything looked fine. And that's the scary thing about food disorders and drinking. Because it's not always the guy under the bridge dying of alcoholism. And it's not always the girl that's 2 pounds dying of anorexia or the girl that's obese dying of overeating. You know what I mean? It could be, I was a very normal sized person in college and I was dying inside.
Yeah, you had this kind of mask you were presenting to the world.
I was never honest with anyone.
Could have looked okay from the surface.
Totally, yeah.
Like I say, tip of the iceberg. You don't know what's underneath
No
sometimes.
idea what's going on under there. I wasn't drinking every day. I wasn't like the roll over and drink type of person. I was the blackout drink on the weekends. Stress.
On the weekend.
So same thing, seeing a pattern here. Eat really healthy all day, binge at night. Eat, work really hard all week, binge drink over the weekend. It was like a be perfect, blow it all up. Be perfect, fix it, blow it all up.
I think that's a common pattern.
Yeah, for sure. To different degrees. I took it to a big one. But so then I graduated college and same things were happening over and over with the drinking stuff, and finally I woke up one day and it was like I just hit a emotional bottom. You know, another event
at the
occurred.
end of college or after college, or when is this?
After college. I was 22. I was in Breckenridge, Colorado for work, and another night, the same thing that always happens. I black out, don't know where I am, wake up, come to, and I'm like, there's got to be something wrong with me. So I Googled blacking out, and it's like, I thought it was going to be like a peanut allergy or something. Like I could get like an EpiPen maybe or something to stop the blackouts. Like a bee sting thing or something. And then up came the test for drinking problems.
Oh, you didn't realize you had a problem.
No. I thought
blacking out was normal.
Well, and everyone else I was with blacked out. So of course it was normal. It's so normal. If you didn't black out, it wasn't fun. You know, you went hard.
So then you thought maybe I have a problem.
Yeah. And then I went to online meetings and talked to people about my feelings. It was the first time I'd ever been honest about anything.
What kind of things came up when you started talking about your feelings?
I just felt like I was different then. I was separated. I felt alone, isolated, like no one really knew me. And it was all stuff that was true because no one really knew me because I wasn't telling anyone who I actually was.
Yeah.
I was isolated because that's how I lived my life. And I was uncomfortable in my skin because I just wasn't, like nothing was aligning with what I was presenting to the world. So I was just basically a big fraud trying to feel comfortable in my skin, and that, it wasn't working. So.
Wow.
So then got sober, decided drinking wasn't for me anymore.
And when was that?
I was 22.
22. How old are you now?
30.
So 8 years, you've been sober for 8 years.
7.5, yeah.
Wow.
It's my birthday,
Good for you.
Thanks.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the beginning of your kind of consciousness like this.
Oh, yeah.
So then what happened with food?
Well, when you quit one addiction, something else can pop up, right? For me, I had now all these, when I first got sober, I got really into fitness. And so I was all about it, and I was like, I'm going to do
exercising.
Exercising. And I wasn't over exercising. I was just exercising. And I was trying to take care of myself because I was trying to make this big change, and I wanted to be this new person.
Okay.
And so, which was a really healthy outlet for me at the time. And then I got a new job. I started traveling for work, and I was gone for like a year, basically. And in that time, I had no tools to deal with these new emotions that this new sober woman was having.
What were those emotions? Same ones.
Everything.
Yeah.
Like feeling things, like real things were happening, and I couldn't pick up a bottle. We'd be out at company dinners or even just being uncomfortable in a situation.
So you stuck to it. You didn't, I feel like a lot of people would have been overwhelmed and like, what am I, bam,
yeah.
Solution. This feels bad, I'm hurt, pain, emotional negativity, whatever. Let me end that feeling right now. That feels really good.
But here's the thing. That's what I did with sugar. Sugar was the new alcohol.
So what happened when you would use, so you would have these feelings and then?
And then I worked in events. So easily, like, we order room service, we order this, it's an event buffet, there's sugar everywhere. I mean, I would like steal them and like hide them.
You would steal what?
Like I'd like take a bunch of desserts and be like, or like pretend it was for everyone else. It was not for everyone else. I'm gonna save this for everyone.
Wow.
I was like the hoarder of desserts. Then you go back to your hotel room.
Yeah.
You worked all day, you're exhausted, you hate yourself. No one on your team likes you because you're irritable and discontent with life. And so you're
unhappy.
You're unhappy, and they're all going out to have fun, and you're alone. So what do? You order room service. That's gonna take the pain away.
So let me get into this a little bit.
Yeah.
So you would feel bad, whatever that emotion would be, and then you would eat and you would feel better.
For the moment. So I think that
Did it actually help you feel better?
No. So
but I mean in the moment.
In the moment. But I didn't know at the time that's what I was doing. I just thought like...
You were not conscious
I wasn't
and aware of
consciously.
what was going on.
Right. Like even with drinking, I was never like, people talk about how they drink at someone or something.
Yeah.
I was never the person that was like, I'm sad, so I'm gonna go drink a bottle of whiskey.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, I feel like I should loosen up a little bit. And so I'm gonna have a drink,
So
and
you
then
felt
it was
anxious. And then...
But I didn't know. And two, even with food, even as a kid, they always said, oh, you have ADD or hyperactivity or whatever.
Yeah.
And food was my solution because it calmed me down.
Yeah.
So same thing with being older now.
So this is one of the most insightful things that I've ever encountered in medicine. But getting people to be conscious of exactly, and just asking the question, what does that get for you? What does that do for you? Mm-hmm. And so I'll ask this about alcohol. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people you'd be surprised how much insight they have. And I've heard really interesting things. One is just very simple, I want to relax.
Take the edge off.
I want to take the edge off. Mm-hmm. To me, that's code for you have anxiety. You have generalized anxiety, panic, worry. Could be severe. You might need medication, therapy, whatever. Could just be like normal stress, whatever.
Right.
And alcohol will take that away. It takes it away. You feel a little better temporarily.
Definitely, yeah.
Some people, like one of the most insightful things I ever heard around this stuff was, one guy said, I don't do it to get high. I just want to feel normal.
Right.
And in the absence of it, he felt bad about himself, all kinds of issues, guilt, shame, whatever. And then the alcohol would numb that. He wouldn't feel the bad, and he just wanted to feel normal.
Well, it's like people that I talk to say alcohol isn't the problem, it's the solution.
Exactly. So
We
like,
need a different solution.
and so I think it's really insightful now that you see, okay, I had these issues that I solved with alcohol for a while. Then they were still there. Then I turned to food. And so the question I have is, well, what did alcohol and food give you? What was it giving you? And then the question is, how can you get that in a healthy way? What can you do to give yourself that whatever
Right.
in a healthy way? And that's the beginning of, it's like smoking, you know? A lot of people smoke to relieve immediate stress. They actually
Right.
feel a little better. Some people do it because they like doing something for themselves. Whatever it is that it does for you, to be honest about that, and then say, okay, I'm going to stop, and you need to replace it with something else.
Right. It was definitely, it let me just be myself, like that guy was saying. Like, he just felt okay. I just felt okay. You know, I was like, oh, I'm good now. But if I could have stopped at 1 or 2, it would have been a different situation. But once I start, it's game on. And I'm the same way with sugar.
You have that intensity about you.
Oh yeah, it's addiction. You know, once I start, I cannot stop, and I have no illusion about that. Thank God, because otherwise I'd still be drinking.
You seem to be pretty honest with yourself about things like this. I find that impressive.
Well, I mean, when you live in denial for so long, you kind of, yeah. Well, it's like, do you want to get better or do you want to stay sick?
So you turned from drinking to food, put on some weight, stressed at work, and here we were, like, I'm billing this as, oh, you lost 70 pounds. Tell me your success story. And this is why I like it, because there's so much more to it than just, well, I was eating too many damn processed carbs. I started eating vegetables, and 70 pounds later, here I am. Here's the success story, right? Like,
Right.
no, there's
a
so
lot.
much more to it than that. I want to push pause for a minute. We're going to come right back to this, but we're going to take a break really quick.
Okay.
But hold that thought. And then we're going to get into the details. I want to know more about what, you sounds like you're eating a lot of dessert.
Yeah.
And then what
I was eating
what you've
everything.
transitioned to. Like, what is healthy stuff that you're eating and exercising now, so that, you know, our viewers at home can take a couple pointers away from that.